Hi Slackles, I feel like I've done quite a few in-depth reviews in a row, going over every little plot point in detail, so today I want to take things back to basics with a run-of-the-mill, typical show review. Just a video going over a regular show. The Lost Tapes. Please clap, that's the best I have. I think there's a good argument to be made that regular show belongs on the Mount Rushmore of Cartoon Network series. Mordecai, a sarcastic blue jay, and Rigby, a somewhat responsible who wrote this? Doing whatever they can to avoid work, leading to outlandish, surreal, and occasionally fantastical consequences. It's an easy to understand pitch, but one that has so many layers to it. I can't count the amount of times that I've heard someone pitch a hypothetical episode, either in person or online, and include details most episodes don't feature because, unlike something like Phineas and Ferb, which I feel like will weirdly become a recurring topic in a few minutes, there was a lot of variety in how episodes are set up and how they conclude. A lot of my favorite episodes, which I have had memorized even after not seeing them for years, are basic 11-minute outings. No overarching plot relevance, no big subversion, just great comedy and character writing. And I feel like the show itself was aware of this, the way they referenced previous episodes and brought back fan favorites time and time again. There's a lot to love here, but I don't want to get carried away. The point is, regular show is a jolly good show, but one that I wasn't exactly craving more of. Like, it had 8 seasons, 244 episodes, and a genuinely moving finale. I was happy with the show as it was, especially with the whole crew moving on to new projects, particularly Close Enough, essentially the adult version of regular show, which isn't quite as good, but hey, it's close enough. Okay, come on, that was a good one! But with Warner Bros. Discovery pulling a Warner Bros. Discovery on Close Enough, and the current animation industry being very reliant on pre-established IPs, it wasn't too shocking to see JG Quintet return to regular show. But I was a little surprised by how they were approaching it. The announcement at Annecy in 2024 only mentioned it was a new regular show series. Variety's article even said the show was entirely new, though it will feature some characters from the original series. It almost sounded like a spin-off, which has a lot of different possibilities. We could explore the park in a different time frame, or a different park, or even an entirely different part of this world. And if that's the plan, how are the original characters involved? And which original characters are involved? A few months later, Mark Hamill let it slip that Skips and Rigby would be around, but how much? Would this series be the Cartoon Network equivalent of Raven's Home or Wizards Beyond the Wizarding Street? This wasn't a traditional revival. It was the Lost Tapes. Oh, okay. So that does imply it's set during the original run, but that still doesn't mean it's a revival. It's just regular show. Okay, it's not like I'm against this approach, but I do find it very strange how secretive they were being about this show when it turned out to be the exact thing most people were expecting it to be. Maybe the crew attempted a different approach but got nowhere with it, or maybe WB forced them to be more traditional with it. I'm not sure. Either way, it's a regular show. I would have tuned in regardless. Though I will note the rollout for this was very strange. Appreciate Cartoon Network actually getting an original series for the first time in years, when most of their shows have become Hulu, Adult Swim, or apparently now Tubi originals. But the fact it wasn't next day on streaming is crazy for any show in 2026, but especially one they were airing at 4 p.m. in the afternoon. It was same day on streaming in nearly every other country. I had to sign up for a VPN to watch this, and I didn't even get any sponsorship money, so I think this is bogus. Oh, and I should mention, there are only 10-11-minute long episodes out currently, so this is not going to be a very complete review. But we have no idea when the next few are going to roll out, so I thought it was better to get this out sooner rather than later. So enough stalling. After 9 years off the air, does regular show The Lost Tapes live up to the original?
Why are there balls in my mouth?
Yeah, I think they did pretty good. Now from the outside, regular show The Lost Tapes looks like more of the same. Mordecai and Rigby slacking off, struggling to keep their jobs, and getting involved in stupid stuff. But at its core, there's a few interesting changes here, most of which can be explained by his first episode, Fix That Tape. Taking place sometime after the original finale in the afterlife, Pops is living his best dead life, because, he died. That is until his memory tape, which seemingly includes the entire original series even when he isn't around, breaks. Unable to repair it and unhappy with the idea of uploading the tape to streaming, he sets out to find a replacement, instead coming across more regular show tapes, each containing previously unseen episodes. Presumably, who knows, maybe this whole thing is unrelated and he's just watching clips on loop or something. This setup is very meta, but I like how it not only plays into imagery from the finale, but the use of different media formats from the original. So far, it's a bit unresolved, but judging by some future episode titles, that won't be the last time we see Pop's afterlife, which is a nice way to keep the show's more overwhelming elements without messing up the pre-established story. From then onward, the show jumps around the timeline to tell different stories, though it's not always apparent when they take place. For example, Napspot likely takes place right after Mordecai and Rigby started working at the park due to Muscle Man's excessive pranking, as we see he does to Thomas. Coffee Shop Wars is before Season 5 due to Margaret working at the coffee shop, and Stilt Walkers has to either be in Season 5 or 6 due to CJ's appearance. But others are more hard to determine, like Skip's Luau and Boba or Bobust, which feel like typical run-of-the-mill adventures. It's a nice subtle way to keep a status quo while still playing with character and plot dynamics we don't always see. It's a much better approach than a lot of other recent revivals, like Phineas and Ferb, which acknowledge the original finale, but just act like things went back to normal after it, which ultimately is confusing. I told you it'd probably come up again. And this format also allows spotlight episodes on different characters. Blade Games is told from the perspective of Benson, and we also get to see how he started at the park in Beginson. Muscle Man also gets a flashback episode in Good Mitch Spiking, which is part movie parody and part volleyball nonsense, easily making it the second most notable animated volleyball episode this decade. Happy Pride Months! And most surprising of all, we got an Eileen and Margaret episode? If the original series had a major flaw, it was how it handled its female characters, especially Margaret. The jokes about her constant new boyfriends in the first 2 seasons are painful, and the way she's tossed around in both an overly long will they won't they and a love triangle was extremely frustrating. So to see Eileen and her get up the petty and supernatural antics like this was a treat, and I love how the goofy sides continued into the characterization in Corpse Flower. Such a nice change that I hope will continue with other characters like CJ. But even when we all focusing on Mordecai and Rigby, their antics continue to be top notch, Rigby in particular. In these first 10 episodes, he gets shot down by the military, addicted to boba, accused of murder, and puts on stilts to use them as big chopsticks of sushi, but no one wants to take his picture as they find the idea stupid until he finds Uncle Sam, who is also wearing stilts, which Rigby almost moves in with due to his desire to have a better father figure until he discovers he's founding a new country, the United States of America, and he needs $12,000 from him. Yeah, all in 11 minutes. It's probably the closest thing this show has done to a close enough episode so far, and it's also my favorite episode so far, so I don't know what that says about me. In general, the show is really funny, from the continued use of needle drops and gunfire, and new stuff they introduce, like Pop's alter ego Boba Casanova. Everything is still the right amount of ridiculousness to be nearly hilarious. Also, maybe it's just me getting older, but it feels like the adult humor is more prevalent than ever. Don't think we're ever going to get back to the level of
when the H are we going to fix this S?
At least not without a lot of parental complaints and lateral censorship, but the ones we do have are not very subtle. They got a surprising amount of the original crew back, and you can tell. The humor is on point, and even the more modern references are contextualized to the original show's time frame, like the public's lack of knowledge on Boba. We don't even get a drone joke, my favorite part of every cartoon revival. These writers are deranged! And of course, we got the entire cast back to play the same roles. Everyone does sound a bit older, because believe it or not, they all, but they slip back into the roles well enough. They even got Roger Craig Smith back to voice half the extras, which is great. I love his commitment to any role they give him.
We're culinary geniuses, aren't we kind of above stealing another chef's recipes?
Hot brown!
No, not the industrial dishwasher!
But of course, as is the case with most recent revivals, and really most animated series nowadays, it's time for the guy who doesn't know how to animate to talk about how they could have animated better. Oh great, this is just fantabulous! So the animation here was handled by Serum Animation. Even if you don't know their name, you have definitely seen their work before. They have worked on multiple Sonic series, Gargoyles, Hey Arnold, Dora, Adventure Time and its follow-ups, Clarence, Rebel Bells, Craig of the Creek, Amphibia, Season 3 of Smiling Friends, and of course the original regular show and Close Enough. They clearly know what they're doing and are capable of delivering incredible animation, even as of last year. So why is this one ugly? If I were to take a guess, this is a case of the studio trying out digital animation. I know I already explained a lot of this in my Phineas and Ferb video, which, oh my god, why do these two have so much in common? But this isn't rigged animation, like you'd see with Flash back in the day. They are drawing every shot here, but the program allows a lot of shortcuts, especially in the movements between poses. And honestly, I could probably get over some of the cheaper in-betweens, because it's not like the original series didn't take shortcuts, and even some of the thicker outlines reminiscent of Season 1. If it wasn't for the faces, like every other character looks painfully on model, or in the case of Benson for some reason, too wrinkly. It's really bizarre. It is disappointing how much of a downgrade this is, but most of the time, I don't think it's distractingly bad. Hey, that has to be worth something. But overall, regular show The Lost Tapes impressed me. It found a clever way to bring the series back, and tonally, it felt like nothing has changed since the original. Animation could use some work, but besides that, this is a near perfect revival. But damn it, despite all of that, I honestly don't think this should exist. Regular show getting a revival feels like a really sad sign of the current state of animation. Like, obviously, from an executive perspective, it makes sense. It's an extremely popular, long-running series that is now old enough to be nostalgic. Bringing it back is genius. But it also feels a little desperate. Cartoon Network is in a weird place nowadays. It is only on the air 11 hours a day. Its contents have been basically wiped from HBO Max because it's not their focus. Yeah, $18 a month subscription purposely excluding content. That's fun. And in terms of Cartoon Network Studios, they barely even exist. The building itself was shut down. They merged with WB Animation, essentially just making them a label, and since 2021, they have only put out 6 shows, 4 of which are spin-offs, and the remaining 2 only aired on Adult Swim. It feels like regular show is only back because, well, that's one of the few series the remains of the studio could make. Quintel's previous series got screwed over by the merger, so he was available. Hell, animation jobs were so hard to come by that a large majority of the crew was able to come back as well. Listen, I'm not trying to say these guys don't have any other opportunities. Like Toby Jones just had an indie film come out last year, and Owen Dennis created the Among Us series, which is shockingly great. I'm not kidding when I say you should check it out. But projects like these have become few and far between. Cartoon Network used to thrive on new ideas that took DNA from the projects that came before it and created something fresh and exciting. So for it to be stuck doing the same 2010s hits over and over again, it makes me sad. Then again, have you been paying attention to the kind of discourse the new cartoons have been getting? Glitch is probably the closest thing we have to a modern Cartoon Network, and everything they put out is given discourse straight out of hell. So honestly, we probably should keep shows like regular show on the air. At least Mordecai is unlikely to get accused of being goon bait.